officers at the Office of Sport, and I look after the Shoosh for Kids campaign. So this is my little baby. I've been here for about 3 years now. So I've done a couple of these campaigns. And yeah, it's something I'm really passionate about. I come from an SSO background. I worked at hockey for 5 years. And so, yeah, making sure that kids were having a fun time at sport and coming back and yeah, just having, a good time and making our sidelines positive was always something that I was striving for in my past career. So yeah, coming and joining the Office of Sport and doing this campaign was a really nice fit for me. So to start with, I will just give you a really brief rundown. So this is a collaboration between us and our sector partners, so sports, clubs and associations, and we really just want to promote positive behaviour at junior sport. It's really not about staying silent. It is about changing that attitude towards, what we're saying and how we're acting on the sideline, and making sure that it's positive and encouraging, and, obviously want to stamp out some of the more negative aspects that we do see around the grounds, especially as junior winter sport gets underway. So this is the May version of the campaign. We also run a summer version in November. The winter version of the campaign is our bigger one. Obviously, there's a lot more winter sports out there, and we do have a lot more collaboration with our partners. So, as I said, it's just to raise awareness, promote the messaging around behaviour, and, as part of Shoosh for Kids, any of the grassroots partners that sign up, so people like yourselves, will get access to our resource library. We send out weekly content and information, and you also get support from me. So I guess that's one thing that maybe not a lot of people know, is that I am fully available for people to reach out to if you'd like resources developed for specifically for your club. If there's something that you kind of see out there or think, oh gosh, I'd love to have that branded, yeah, we can definitely, the sky's the limit, really. Feel free to reach out to me. I'll have the email address for Shoosh for Kids at the end of the presentation. But I think this is the one thing that, maybe not a lot of people know that we do at the Office of Sport, is provide that ongoing support for our partners. So, yeah, it's a fabulous campaign. We're trying to grow it every year. We have, so yeah, this one, yeah. So as I was going to say, we have about 500 clubs and associations that have signed up as partners over the years, which is, just fantastic. And I think at last count, we were over 30 SSOs and SSO state sporting organisations with disability as well. We do have a few of those. So it was a bit of an amalgamation of some previous campaigns that we ran that looked at poor behaviour and aggression on the field. And it also complements the work being done by Play by the Rules, which is run through Sport Integrity Australia, Sport Australia and the Human Rights Commission as well. If you haven't checked out Play by the Rules, I would definitely recommend you do. They have some fantastic resources as well. And yeah, their campaign is very, very similar to Shoosh for Kids, but obviously, we couldn't do some of the work that we do without some of their work. So yeah, definitely check them out. I will have that website at the end of the presentation as well. And so, yeah, this is just one element of what we do at the Office of Sport. We do have a whole sector capability team that is looking at things we can do to support the sporting sector, not only with this, but with child safety, and yeah, support for clubs and associations and state sporting organisations. So now that that's sort of the boring stuff out of the way, I guess, as I mentioned before, Shoosh isn't about staying completely silent. And I think that's what I try and make clear to a lot of people when I'm speaking to them is, I think there might have been a perception that this campaign is, keeping the sidelines quiet, making sure people don't cheer or, and that's not what we want to do. Obviously we want to make sure that the sporting field and the sidelines are a fun and supporting environment for the kids, and we want them to keep coming back. And silent sidelines aren't going to do that, and that's never what we've that's never what we've been for. So we have key messages that run across the campaign. So we have our weekly themes, which we've really sort of gone into these past couple of years. We really love these themes because, I think there's different elements that we've brought in. And, things like volunteer appreciation, respecting officials, supporting the coaches, they're all really important messages that feed into that overarching sort of, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. And that whole, our real general participation message is keeping it positive and keeping it fun, and then keeping kids coming back to sport. So we will, throughout the month, you guys will hopefully get some emails. We have tailored content for each of those overarching themes. And, we encourage clubs and associations to embrace those themes as well. Potentially you guys can take them on board and, maybe you do a volunteer appreciation week, or potentially it's a week, where you highlight your officials and you make sure that, you make sure you pay them a little bit more attention and get some things going to show how much you guys appreciate them and respect them. And obviously, without volunteers like coaches and officials, we wouldn't have junior sport. So I think, this all feeds back into, that overarching message, just to keep it positive. So I think as I was chatting, like Megan had a few questions, and obviously Sarah being part of the campaign before, we do have a resource library. So I will share that link, and it is on the website as well. So we have developed over the years a pretty big resource library. There's a lot of social media tiles, posters, EDM headers. We've developed a bunch of templates if you wanted to go out and get some banners or, A-frame signs, teardrop banners. There's a whole bunch of stuff, and every year we're continually adding to the resource library. And it's actually through suggestions and questions and people sort of just going, hey, have you ever considered doing this, or have you ever considered doing that we sort of go, oh yeah, that would be really cool. And yeah, myself and our designer at the Office of Sport work through that and come up with some fun things every year to sort of add to the resource library. We've got sort of very generic ones, which have a lot of the key messaging on them, but then we also have sport specific ones. So whether you're from football or basketball or netball, we do have sport specific tiles and posters and things as well. So it's definitely something to have a look at. The resource library, I think it's a fantastic resource and asset for clubs and associations. And I actually, which is, your question before, Sarah, was really, let me just let this person in. Your question before was really timely because we actually have a range of new resources this year. We're currently just working through trying to finalize some of these things, but we're looking to try and get some of, obviously it's hard to kind of, I guess, zhuzh up this campaign as much as we can. We are a government agency, and sometimes it is hard to make things fun, but we are trying our best. And so we're obviously the existing resources are still really all good to use, but we're giving a few things a bit of a refresh and a facelift. And we've kind of lent into the fun aspect this year as well. We've had a few people mention that it would be great to, get something that could go up at their barbecue or their sausage sizzle or their canteen. And I feel like the Shoosh message is really conducive to having a little bit of fun and, being positive. And we've seen some really great campaigns that clubs and associations have run over the years that, and I've got a few examples at the end of my presentation of where, they've really lent into, having a bit of fun, making it not so serious of a topic. It is on one hand, but also on the other hand, I think that we can get through to a lot more people by making it fun and interesting. So we've got some, as you see, we've got some updated posters. We're going to have some cool social media graphics. There's going to be some little overlays and things that if people want to put, little Shoosh for Kids bubbles and things on their photos, will make it easy for them to do that. We've also got some like DIY bunting, which we came up with as an idea. We saw this done by somebody else and we were like, we love this. And, you know, it's a really fantastic sort of cheap and easy thing for clubs and associations to do, because we are very well aware that, you know, you guys often don't have a lot of budget to, you know, go and invest in signage. So this is something that, you know, you only need a printer and some paper and some string, and it looks really good up around, you know, the clubhouses and the fields. So we will be uploading these over the next couple of days to our resource library, so keep an eye out for that. But yeah, I reiterate again, if there's anything that you if there's anything that you would love to see or that you think would be beneficial to add to the library, please reach out. We're more than happy to develop that stuff with you and do that across the month. So now I just wanted to go over, I guess, some things that you guys might have available to you in order to help promote Shoosh. Oftentimes, you know, I get some feedback that it's like, oh, you know, I'd love to support, but like, I just don't know what to do. You know, I share some of your social media stuff, but like, you know, I don't know where else I can sort of promote Shoosh, which, you know, it's, if you're not a marketing person, you know, obviously I do it full time, and, you know, it's not everybody's day job. So I get it. And you guys are often doing this as volunteers and in your own time. So I'm trying to make it as simple as possible for you to just think about what channels you have available to you and potentially some ideas of what you can do that's really quick and easy to show your support for the campaign. So obviously there we've got some a list of channels that you guys might have access to. You might have a few of them, you might have all of them, but you know, obviously everybody thinks of social media first, but you know, things like newsletters or even emails. I know probably a lot of you guys would send out draws or fixtures, or, you know, even just, hey, you know, this is where you're playing this weekend, or whatever it is. Often those are some of the best read emails of at a club, because of course everybody wants to know where and when they're playing. You know, even things like event programs, you know, WhatsApp groups. I'm sure that there's plenty of WhatsApp groups out there between parents and, you know, teams and things. So they're often a really good resource to share things through. And even just, you know, ground and venue signage and even announcements at grounds. Most clubs, you know, and fields will have a megaphone or some sort of speaker system. We do have like a ground announcement script that makes it sort of simple for anybody to kind of read out some really good messaging around Shoosh. So, you know, I think it's all about thinking outside of the box and thinking, you know, where people are going to see messages, you know, talking around venue signage. It's often some of the things you think like least, like things like the back of change room doors and the back of toilet doors. That is like the best place to put a poster. We do it in our office all the time, and you would be shocked about how many people find out about things and actually read things when they're on the toilet. It's very funny, but it's a really good way to get through messaging. And especially, you know, if you were to chuck a poster up there, you're probably going to get a lot of people engaging with that. Some of the content ideas, you've probably had a bit of a read through them, but, you know, it doesn't have to be a lot. It can be just something as simple as, you know, taking some photos of your athletes or your parents, you know, with signs or with props, or even, you know, just the simple, you know, the action of shushing is, you know, often enough to kind of get the message across. You know, even some fun videos. We have had clubs and associations just put together some fun TikToks. Often if you find a young kid or a young athlete that might be on social media and is really savvy with that sort of stuff, they would probably love to help you create something, put something together. And even just something as simple as sharing our content. I know that, you know, it might not seem like much, but, you know, we are sharing content month round. And especially if you guys have, you know, pretty decent followings on your social media pages, it's a great way to get things through to people. And it's a really low time and effort sort of action that you can take. So, yeah, you know, but as I said, if you have sort of any other questions or you wanted to run anything by somebody, I am open to you guys reaching out. So a few more sort of, I guess, general promotional ideas that I really love and that I've seen people do and that I think would be something that would work really well at a field or at a track or at a court or wherever you guys are. So obviously signage, printing out and placing things around your venue, doing it in high traffic areas, as I mentioned, like canteen lines, toilet stalls, that sort of stuff. Ground announcements, as I mentioned before, is a great way to do that too. And, even something like a Shoosh ambassador, I have seen a few clubs do this where they sort of nominate somebody to be present at the ground. They often give them a shirt or one of those high vis vests and sort of make them that person that often, can answer questions or potentially model that positive, good behavior. And even if you have some difficult parents, it might be somebody that could potentially have a chat with them and sort of explain what the campaign is and why your club is supporting it. And then, just even sending reminders throughout the month is a good way to just keep up that awareness. And then there are some good practical implementation things that you can do. Like obviously the awareness is great, but I think we obviously have the month, Shoosh month, but I think one of the key things I often like to also get across is that, we want this to be ongoing. We don't want everybody to be great for the month of May and then have, that behavior regress across the season. So practical implementation of some of this messaging and really pushing it through as many channels as we can is a great way to, to make sure that behavior sticks around and that we're making the sideline positive all season long. So, awareness sessions for parents and spectators, this can be done maybe, in the clubhouse, before one of the rounds. It doesn't have to be long, it can just be a really short presentation or a talk by the president or a coach or somebody in the club or association that, is passionate about the topic. And just setting the ground rules and expectations often is a great way to, to let everybody know exactly what is expected of them. Volunteer appreciation round, I've seen a lot of these going on and I love that idea. And just promoting the work that your volunteers do. So putting up social posts, highlighting people at the clubs that have maybe volunteered for years and years, or just those unsung volunteers that just do, the nasty or dirty jobs or just those thankless jobs. It's often great to, show them some love, which, it's a great way to kind of work in with that volunteer theme of Shoosh. Something simple as well, I know that a lot of clubs and associations already do this, but shaking the hands of officials or umpires before or after the game, that's just a really simple action that we can take that, I think, kids can have that messaging, put into action really. And then, even going as far as potentially incorporating some of the materials or resources from us or Play by the Rules into your accreditation programs or courses, especially for coaches, or if you have sort of any inductions for your volunteers. You may not, but it's also another avenue where we can sort of reinforce that messaging around positivity and encouragement. So I mentioned a few before that I had some examples of some of the stuff that people have done. I love this one on the left from Borkham Hills Netball Club. They came up with this lollipop campaign that basically, if people couldn't really keep their mouth shut and they didn't feel like they could keep quiet, then they offered them a free lollipop at the canteen. So it gave them something to keep their mouth occupied. And I just thought that was a really fun and quirky sort of way to get the messaging across. And apparently they had quite a lot of take up on the free lollipops. So I really loved that. The Concord Burwood Wolves on the right, they're a long-term partner of ours. And they've always gone out of their way to support the campaign. They're one of our yeah, they're really one of our most passionate supporters. They get a whole bunch of our signage. You can see a couple of photos there. They go out of their way to, have those fun things like the Instagram frames, posters, stuff around their club, their club, and the change rooms and everything. There's a video here. I won't play it for you now, but they actually went and created a video, which is fantastic. And it's just, that great way, especially on socials these days, to just show the kids and the parents and the volunteers at the club really getting behind the message. We also had Hockey New South Wales. This is a bit of a self plug, I will say, but back when I was the communications manager, we came up with the campaign Respect for Officials, and we got everybody to take a pledge that they would respect the officials, that they would obviously not, that they would respect their calls, that they would, obviously not, it was a very simple statement that they could. And what we did was we actually sent out, pens and papers to grounds around the state. People signed. There was also an online sign up option. And it was just, again, a very symbolic way of people committing their support to umpires and refs. And we ended up having around 3,000 to 4,000 people sign up. So it was a very successful campaign. And we had a lot of signage around the grounds. We also used uniforms as a great way to promote the messaging as well. And yeah, I think people really liked the fact that they could commit themselves to that and do something. So yeah, it's a fantastic way, and I think it's something that could be implemented elsewhere. And just I guess a bit of an out there example as well, just, thinking outside the square of what you can do. Junior Speedway Racing, they actually put some sort of makeshift signage on their bikes throughout the month of May. So, it's always just kind of thinking around, what real estate do we have? Where can we put things that people are going to see it? And I thought this was kind of a creative way that they were able to incorporate some of the signage and resources that we had into their own sport. So I guess that's kind of the end of, the spiel part of it. But I often find that the Q&A section is where we can really have a good chat and answer questions. And I'm sure that there's some stuff that you guys would like to raise, hopefully. So yeah, don't be shy. Happy to answer any questions or direct you to resources, whatever you'd like. I'm not sure if there's any volunteers or victims, I guess.
Oh, thanks. It was great. It's good to know that the resources will be updated. So for me, you answered my question because you've showed me where some new resources are, and I think it'll be cool if I can contact you about what sort of personal resources we could possibly do for our club, and maybe pass that information even on to our NFA to see if maybe they could just do it for NFA and not just specific to us. So yeah, so I have some information which is cool, and I'll be putting that back to the committee, which is great.
Yeah,
so great. Very useful for me.
Yeah, awesome. So yeah, that email address down there on the screen is just Shoosh for Kids, so that goes to me. So you won't be messaging a stranger. We will also, like some of the resources that we are developing, we are working to sort of develop editable resources. We're looking potentially into trying to utilize Canva. And creating some almost, templates where people can drop their own, club logos or photos and things, to make it really easy for you guys to sort of customize some of the Shoosh stuff. So it is in the works, and yeah, we just have to sort of get everything going. We've obviously got a few resources that we're going to be uploading in the next couple of days, but we're going to be working throughout the month to sort of try and get to a place where you guys are able to quickly and easily edit stuff for socials or posters, and have it out there and ready to go.
Awesome.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, you just answered my question.
Oh, cool. All right, great. But yeah, one of the requests I had from this session last year was some stickers for a hockey club, because the kids love sticking stickers on their sticks. So we were able to go out there and actually create a sticker design for somebody. And, you know, I thought that was fabulous. And we got some really cool photos of, you know, of kids with it, you know, on their faces and bags and sticks and stuff. So, yeah, even just things like that, you know, that was a very niche application for hockey as a sport. But yeah, I'm sure there's other things that other sports might be interested in developing. So yeah, definitely reach out.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for your time, Jess.
No, thank you for jumping on. I realise that this is, you know, a weeknight and you probably have better things to do. But yeah, it's, you know, I really do. I'm passionate about this campaign, and, you know, we really do want to grow it. And the only way that we can grow it is with the support of you guys out there in Clubland, and yeah, along with your SSOs, and you guys spreading the word. I think that's, you know, if you as a club are doing stuff, other clubs are going to see it, and potentially also want to, you know, support as well. So yeah, was there any other questions or comments?
Not from me.
No. Cool. All right then. Well, like, maybe I can give you half an hour of your night back. But thank you so much for all jumping on. As I said, please, that Shoosh for Kids email is there. I check it every day. So please email. You can even, if you wanted to message our Facebook page as well, I can get back to you via that too. We will also, what I might do is also email out, I'll email out a copy of this presentation and this video, and also send you the links to Play by the Rules and the resource library so that you have it there. If you haven't already signed up as a partner, I will send you the partner sign up link. I'm assuming most of you may have already filled that in. You probably came to the info session link through that, but if you haven't signed up already, it would be great if you can. It's just good to get some numbers, and, you know, especially for government, it's nice to show, you know, how much support we're getting from the community and how many people that we're reaching. So yeah, I think, yeah, unless there's anything else, I will, I'll say goodnight. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for your